that someday the names of Satchel Paige and Josh Gibson can be added as a symbol of the great Negro players that are not here only because they were not given a chance.
Major League Baseball Productions presents This Week in Baseball, the show that goes beyond the game.
It's going to work. Come on. Swung at it, belted. Oh, my God. This one is over.
This week, in honor of the highest fan in the land, we look back at the history of the Negro Leagues and the legendary names that were part of its lore.
Jackie, Satchel, Josh Gibson, all those guys, I played against, and we had fun.
We'll get to these baseball legends in a bit, but first, the long, hard journey black players had to endure.
They wouldn't let us play in the major leagues. This was the era of segregation.
But that didn't stop these men from playing the game that they loved, as teams of black ball players toured the country on their own. This was called barnstorming. And while it was lots of fun, it was clear there was something missing.
It just did not have that organized body that it needed to truly be successful. That's when you saw this idea of pushing for the formation of a quote-unquote Negro Leagues.
The Negro Leagues gave teams a place to call home, and fans in each city got to see their vast talent.
All you needed was a bus, a couple of sets of uniforms. You could have 20 of the best athletes that ever lived. That's Negro League baseball.
Playing in the Negro Leagues, that's the most fun I ever had. When the bell rang and we were facing each other, we were mortal enemies. But when the game was over, we were a band of brothers, all of us.
The story of the Negro Leagues embodies the American spirit, unlike any stories of American history. It is one of the greatest stories of pride and passion and perseverance.
But this story was made necessary by one of the saddest chapters in our history, especially in the South.
There's a lot of hate down there on both sides. And it was rough down there for all of us.
We were in a little town down in Georgia, and the sheriff came in and says, not going to be no ball game tonight, she's going to have a Klan meeting. So a fella asked, what you going to do? I went and got on the bus and got out of town.
Baseball was supposed to be a national pastime, but it couldn't possibly be a national pastime when it represented only a portion of the nation.
But then came the great experiment, when Jackie Robinson signed with the Dodgers and broke baseball's color barrier.
Nobody knew if Jackie would succeed. He was the new element, and the new element was going to stir things up. That was going to change the whole dynamic of the game.
And Jackie did just that from the moment he stepped on the field.
He took Negro League baseball to the major league. He took that excitement. The ball never got out the outfield and he could score. Exciting.
Jackie was so good, he was named Rookie of the Year, despite being taunted and cursed, knocked down, and spiked.
She had to swallow a lot of pride in things, but they were degrading and they hurt a great deal.
Jackie Robinson, that was the beginning of the Civil Rights Movement. That was before Brown versus the Board of Education. That was before Sister Rosa Parks said, I'm not going to move in the back of the bus today. Martin Luther King was a sophomore at Morehouse at the time. That started the ball rolling.
And the impact that Jackie and those who came before him had on this nation continues to be felt today.
What Jackie Robinson did, it was something he did for all African Americans. He broke down barriers. Now today we see Barack Obama our president.
Can I have your ring too?
Barack Obama is not president without what Jackie Robinson did and others before Jackie Robinson did. So it transcends baseball, transcends the game.
Our look back at the Negro Leagues continues with some of the great names of the day, like Ray Dandridge, Mule Suttles, Judy Johnson, and Pop Lloyd. And the stories about these men have taken on an almost mythical status.
Buck Leonard could wake up in the morning before he washed his face and hit you 2 home runs. He was just that good of a hitter.
They had a saying that trying to slip a fastball past Buck Leonard was like trying to slip daylight past a rooster.
Willie Mays, the best Major League Baseball player I ever saw. But Oscar Charleston was the best baseball player I ever saw. Oscar Johnson could hit you 40 home runs a year, could steal you 100 bases, could hit you 350 or better. Great outfielder, arm was better than Willie.
And those clever nicknames were a big part of the Negro Leagues culture.
Neil Bobo Henderson.
Robert L. Bob, Peachhead Mitchell.
Mac the Knife, Pride.
One of the coolest nicknames went to one of the league's fastest players.
And I looked like a veteran out there. Didn't nothing excite me or nothing like that. So they say that he taking it cool out there. And our manager said, this cool's not enough. A name for it. So we had Papa too. So that's how that was born.
1932, we played the first Black World Series. In the seventh inning, no score, no run. They walked the next two batters, and I hit the first pitch in the upper deck for a home run. Well, I pitched the second game, and we set them out 6-0. Damon Runyon, the Yankees secretary and general manager, named me Double Duty.
Two of Double Duty's teammates didn't need nicknames. Fact is, they were so good, they only needed one name.
I played with the Baltimore Eli Giants, and we had another catcher in the Negro National League, Josh Gibson. In my opinion, the best hitting catcher I have ever seen.
Josh was known as the Black Babe Ruth, primarily because of his prodigious power.
I am convinced that if Josh Gibson had been playing in the major leagues, could very easily have broken Babe Ruth's 60 home run record.
And like Ruth, Josh was also loved by most everyone.
He was boyish and he had charisma. You loved to be around him. Opposing players liked him. Pitchers liked him, even though he'd kill a pitcher, you know.
The other player who needed just one name was Satchel, the face of an entire league.
Satchel was not only the best pitcher of the Negro Leagues, he was really the greatest superstar. Everybody in America knew Satchel, not just people who watch Negro League baseball, but white fans too.
I don't know who was the greatest pitcher or who was the greatest ball player, but he was in that category. He's the fastest pitcher. He threw the ball faster than anybody. But nobody threw the ball faster than Satchel Paige.
And one day, Satchel set out to prove to Josh just who the best man was.
Satchel said, I'm going to walk Easterland, I'm going to walk Buck Leonard, and I'm going to pitch to Josh. I said, oh, man, don't be facetious.
And then Satch let it fly.
I'm going to throw you some fastball. I'm not going to try to trick you. Boom, strike one, about right there. I'm going to throw you another fastball, but it's going to be a little faster. Bam! Strike two, belt high. He said, nah, Josh, I'm not going to throw any smoke at your yoke. I'm going to throw a pea at your knee. Boom! Strike three, threw that ball knee high, about 100 miles fast. Josh didn't move the bat. The ball game was over. He walking off the diamond. You know, Satchel 6'4", stretched out like a 7 feet tall. I'm walking with him. He said, you know what, Buck? I said, what? He said, nobody hit Satchel's fastball. That was Satchel.
Just one of the countless stories that made the Negro Leagues and the men who played there so compelling. Gatorade Now presents Twibia. Switch-hitting outfielder Cool Papa Bell is considered the best base stealer in Negro Leagues history. So we tracked down Giant center fielder Aaron Rowan to see if he knew which switch hitter has the most steals in Major League history. Vince Coleman, Tim Raines, Willie Wilson, or Maury Wills? Tough question, Aaron. Who you got?
Switch hitter with the most stolen bases in history. Maury Wills.
Yeah, you'd think so, but it's actually Tim Raines, who has the most big league steals as a switch hitter with 808.
I should have known that. He was my coach. No, Rock, if you see this, I'm sorry. You're the best. I love you.
Time now to salute the teams and players that know how to win on the road as Holiday Inn presents Winning Road Trips.
Slide makes the catch.
The Phillies took their road success to San Diego this week, where they swept the Padres in powerful fashion.
And it is a fair ball and a home run. And Ryan Howard with a towering home run as the Phillies go back-to-back here in the fifth and now lead it 4-1. And the Phillies' road magic continued.
The nominees are in, and it's time to vote for the May Clutch Performance Award.
Grand slam, Victorino!
Here then are the clutch candidates for May.
pitcher. He's a fun guy to watch, and he is swinging a hot bat right now.
Upper deck! A tape measure shot from Mauer.
Boy, is he on a streak right here. His 11th home run in the month of May.
It is gone. Home run for Torrey Hunter.
Team leading home run number 11.
Torrey's a special player. This guy's all about playing the game, playing it right, and winning.
How about Torrey Hunter? A double and 2 more RBIs.
Torrey continues to drive the Angel bus.
Going back is Ellsbury. He can't make the catch. Hunter to third with a triple.
23 RBIs, club record for the month of May.
Verlander has great stuff again tonight. Swing and a miss. He got him on strikes.
94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Whenever you throw 100 miles an hour on top of that, you're just gonna be unhittable.
An absolute gem of a win here tonight.
You look at his last 23 innings, 11 hit, 31 strikeouts.
What an outing for Justin Verlander. Career high 13 strikeouts today.
There he goes.
Another stolen base for Paul Crawford. He is 6 for 6 today.
That's 6 stolen base for Crawford, ties a modern-day Major League Baseball record.
He's having himself at bats that are just some of the best at bats of his career. He's hit it in center field. He's come back to win it. 6-5. A walk-off base hit to center by Crawford.
It is gone. Oh, what a shot. The Milkman delivered. It is a walk-off 2-run single for Melky Cabrera.
Boy, that's the Milky Way.
Melky Cabrera comes through yet again.
Melky Cabrera has won this game on a single to right center field. Another walk-off for Melky. What a year he is having.
Witness the master wielding his magic tonight. Roy Halladay, a complete game victory.
He's a horse. He's a guy that goes out there and throws you 7, 8, 9 innings every night.
Halladay off to a Cy Young type start.
That's just almost money. Every time you go out there, you're guaranteed a good outing.
He's just a workman out there when it comes to pitching.
He moves to 8-1 on the year.
For more on Clutch 2009, go to PepsiClutch.mlb.com. Next up, Gillette presents the Rookie of the Month, honoring the top rookies in both the American and National Leagues each month of the season.
Welcome to the big leagues, big guy.
This week's candidate is Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Jeff Neiman, who served up some nasty stuff against the Royals.
5th strikeout of the game for Jeff Neiman.
Jeff had never gone 9 full innings in his short career. But that all changed this week.
And a complete game 2-hit shutout. A 100-pitch masterpiece for rookie Jeff Neiman.
And now it's time for the sound of pure baseball with the XM Call of the Week. It comes from Chicago, where Jim Thome went the other way for a home run milestone.
Thome down the count 1-2. Could see a double glance at Podsednik in the 1-2 pitch. Swinging a high fly. Deep left. It's going to go. 550 for Thome. A 3-run homer. And the Sox lead 5-2. Light it up.
This Week in Baseball continues as Chevy presents All-Star Classics. The year was 1933, and the World's Fair took place in Chicago. To add to the festivities, Chicago Tribune editor Arch Ward helped convince Big League Baseball to hold a special game in the Windy City. It was, in fact, the first ever Major League All-Star Game.
We have a sell-out, big crowd, a fine day, and I hope the best team wins.
But it wasn't the only Midsummer Classic in Chicago that year.
Major League Baseball's All-Star Game started in 1933. The East-West All-Star Game debuted that same year.
It's called the EastWest Classic, the game that was played between the best stars of the East and the best stars of the West.
Both games were played at Comiskey Park just 2 months apart. And the man who made the East-West Classic a reality was Pittsburgh Crawford's owner and Negro Leagues innovator, Gus Greenlee.
Gus Greenlee, he came up with the idea. And he basically worked on something that was already a natural rivalry, and it just grew out of that.
Babe Ruth hit a home run in the White game.
It's a home run in the right, first home run of the series.
And a guy named Mule Suttles slugged one that went out of Comiskey Park.
Held primarily in Comiskey Park, the All-Star Game in many respects were bigger than the Negro Leagues World Series.
It trumped everything.
Great spectacle. People from everywhere, all over the country, came to that ball game.
The EastWest Classic really did go beyond baseball. Record crowds turned out to cheer their heroes, and the game itself helped keep some teams afloat.
A lot of black teams were struggling to make a payroll in the Depression especially, and they made their payroll thanks to their share of the receipts from that one game. So it was a huge success financially.
It showed the drawing power in one specific place and the power of the African-American consumer.
I didn't know there was so much interest. That was the one thing that opened the eyes up to a lot of people, including the major leagues.
Gus Greenlee, with his creation of the EastWest All-Star Game, helped catapult black baseball to really a whole nother spectrum.
The EastWest Classic was a rousing success. But now, a half-century later, only one game is needed to showcase all the stars. And you can see them this year by going to winanallstartrip.com to enter for the chance to win an MLB All-Star Weekend in St. Louis. That's winanallstartrip.com.
This one's going to do it. She is out of here.
Which brings us to our State Farm Big League Blast and Miguel Tejada, a one-man show.
Lining it to left. Crawford boxes. There it is. Game winner. Walk-off round tripper.
Hit the game-winning homer in the bottom of the 11th inning. His fourth hit of the night. He's driven in all three for the Astros.
Oh, man, oh, man, oh, man. What a way to end it.
Here we go.
What a catch.
I'm mic'd too, everybody. I'm mic'd.
I'm mic'd up. You want to come talk to me?
Say hi to the camera, Case.
Why don't you want to talk to me today?
Wave to it. It's looking at you.
Rivera's back. He leaps. Did he catch it? Yes, he did.
That was my introduction.
Diving stop and second by Polanco. What a play.
I got him hit.
Barehand. Look at that.
Charging on a slow roller, barehanding and throwing in one motion for the out.
Holy smokes. Real nice.
No, get that grip right. You got to get that grip.
No one stretched him until he started hitting a few bombs, right?
This is a real strong guy.
Soriano has a leadoff homer.
Hanley in the hole, bare hands. Heck of a play.
Backhanded stab with the ball by Murphy.
That's a tremendous play by Hardy. Cody Ross, you was robbed.
Look how long his line is for autographs with that hair.
Has nothing to do with the fact that he was an all-star last year.
That's his hair.
How about this look? How about that?
Chamberlain does, makes a catch. Great play by Jabba Chamberlain.
Martin tried to barehand it, swatted it with his bare hand, and then caught it with a glove.
He leaps up, and he makes the catch.
First major league hit, Matt Wieters on triple.
I like to be, the kind you could sing, but don't because you're shy. That way I live inside your throat and hang from every word you spoke.
Ah! Grand slam for Luke Scott. For the 100th time in his career, his name is Dan Uggla.
Success.
He tripped over the box.
Let's cut that right now.
So you put some serious topspin on that baseball.
Soon as I took this step, I was like, I'm in trouble.
Fan clubs surfacing.
Hey, look at that Fondo jersey right there. See that? Fondo jersey.
Burns swings. Base hit in the middle. Diamondbacks win the game.
Base hit by Chipper Jones. His teammates are chasing him across the infield. Got him. This is his moment, folks. Randy Johnson with his 300th career win. What a ball game.
Done? We're off.
Now more than ever, Major League players come from all walks of life. They take pride in their heritage, and many of them honor it whenever they can.
Spirit of Jackie Robinson, dog.
2 Milwaukee Brewers did just that.
There you go.
When they traveled to Kansas City, along with 14 Little Leaguers.
Hey, I'm Bill Hall with the Milwaukee Brewers, here with Ricky Weeks. We were some of the best Little Leaguers in the world. Just got to Kansas City, about to walk through the Negro League Museum. Let's go.
It is great to have a museum like this because now we're celebrating those who built the bridge as opposed to those who crossed over the bridge. Once upon a time, Kids who looked like you couldn't play in the major leagues. Didn't matter whether or not you were good enough. It had only to do with the color of your skin. And chances are, for any ball player to walk into this museum, you can't help but be humbled. But for an African-American ball player, these are your roots. Quite simply put, you don't play this game had it not been for these guys. Some of the greatest baseball players who ever played this game came out of this league. That is the legendary Hank Aaron. As a youngster,
Just seeing the little kids, just staring at the guy and seeing him and telling these stories about, the way it used to be.
They say sneaking a fastball past Buck Leonard was like trying to sneak sunrise past the rooster. Now, y'all too young, y'all know what a rooster is.
This will be a great experience for myself as well, as these guys teaching them some history of baseball, and not only history of baseball, African-American baseball.
Catching, who is that? Great Josh Gibson, very good.
I think the biggest thing for them to see that there is a bit of a gap between the guys back then and these kids now, because I don't think they're too sure about the segregation back then and now.
Once upon a time, everything in our country was based on skin color. So you could walk into that ballpark and there would be separate seating for black folks and for white folks. And you know what? You could go to jail for sitting in the wrong seat or from using the wrong restroom.
If you don't know about your past, there's no stepping stone for the future because you don't know what you've been through.
And guess what? Things still need to be improved. And who's going to improve them? You are.
These kids, they were taught a valuable lesson today. You're going in and talking about, the guys who paved the way for us to play this game today.
And no one played a bigger role than former Negro Leaguer turned pioneer, Jackie Robinson.
When Jackie walked out on that field, he wasn't playing for Jackie. Jackie Robinson was carrying an entire race of people, 21 million people on his shoulders when he walked across that line. That's an enormous amount of pressure. And how he handled himself so courageously and with so much pride and dignity is absolutely amazing to me.
By day's end, everyone came away with a better understanding of their past.
The kids learned a lot. I learned a lot. Sure, Ricky learned a lot as well. It was very educational for all of us, and I'm definitely up to doing it again with these kids and maybe even more kids.
For This Week in Baseball, I'm Buzz Brainerd. So long, everybody.